I wanted to get to something, Stugotz, that we didn't get to yesterday, and I found the disproportionate coverage on this to be interesting because I don't think, as I've told you before, that it's the crime that we obsess with in the news, but we obsess with the criminal. So yesterday's story was about Aaron Rodgers and the most horrific football story of the day that is much more difficult to cover than just here's Aaron Rodgers, liar, cheater, is Henry Ruggs being waived by the Raiders, and you realize, oh, something is coming here. If the Raiders have distanced themselves already on some of the details of what has happened here,
right,
the Raiders know that something terrible is coming down. And then you read the news that not only was he impaired, whatever it is, twice the legal limit, but that he was going between 155 and 165 miles per hour.
156 is where they clocked him.
Yeah. And just, you're like, how could you possibly be that reckless? Like, I don't even understand what makes you get to the point where you feel that bulletproof when impaired. I don't even want to sound like your grandfather on this. The need to go 150 miles an hour, and then,
around the Vegas Strip, you're a 23-year-old rookie. You just came into a lot of money. It's probably the first time in your life you've had a lot of money. You're trying to impress somebody. I mean, I could see it. It doesn't, when you're that age, you don't think anything's going to happen to you. And so I could see a guy thinking, hey, I could drive this car as fast as I want. I'm going to be okay, regardless of what happens.
A loaded gun in the car after that, and you're like, oh, my God, you're just a stereotype for total athletic recklessness.
Yes.
And the result is not only that, because I didn't understand when it said hit the back of the Toyota and the Toyota caught fire. I did not immediately go to what rate of speed was he going. I just went to how did that happen? And then you see the news sort of trickle out and the Raiders we're investigating, and the day later he's waived. And then you read the reports of, oh, wait a minute. This is the height of reckless. And it ended not only with the death of an innocent person, but their dog as well in the car. And you're like, oh my God, this guy just ended his career and I don't know if his life, but his freedom. Like, how can you be that reckless that all the potential in the world, right? Here you are. You're one of the fastest dudes in that league. That offense is exciting because they've got Waller being a Frankenstein coming across the middle, and he takes the lid off your defense.
But you can't see, I'm surprised, because you can't see a 23-year-old first time coming into money, trying to impress someone out in Las Vegas.
No, what you're saying makes
driving
sense.
a very nice car, 156 miles per hour down the strip.
Okay,
right?
And you didn't intend this consequence, but man, what a blind spot to have. Because you just lost
100%.
Lost your career and your freedom. I don't know how injured he is or isn't. You get into a collision at that rate of speed, your body's gonna be altered.
He was wearing a neck brace in some of the pictures that have been shown, but he looks to be okay.
Okay, but I don't know what the experience is that anyone has going into something at 156 miles an hour and that thing catching fire and what that does to body tissue, fascia. When you say appears to be okay, I don't know if this ends his career or not, but this is a man who makes his business being one step faster than everyone else. Like a 156 mile an hour crash isn't going to help that.
He's facing felony charges, so I don't know if it ends his career. It's kind of sad to see. There were pictures of him before the accident going into a Vegas Knights hockey game, I believe. And it's just happiness, full of life. And then you see the mugshot, and it's like the life has been sucked out of him. 24 hours.
There is this really gripping sound that I want to play of Derek Carr, the Raiders quarterback. And I think one of the things that's difficult to talk about this story is that it's just something horrific has happened. This dude's life is probably over. But there's not really a lot else to talk about beyond that. But I actually thought Derek Carr gave voice to something that was pretty illuminating.
And it's not his life is not over, but they were talking about 2 to 20 years, and I just don't know when the details come out on something like this. This is not, I don't know the navigations of the legal system on this, but Dante Stallworth, what happened to him down here in Miami, Stugotz, ended up in a light sentence, but there were a number of mitigating factors there that weren't 156 miles per hour. It was a pedestrian who was in the wrong crossing the road. Like, I don't know the legal details on this, but I'm guessing that this is a person who will not be free for a while because This is an act of negligence that is horrific and illegal and will be punished no matter how much money you have, whether it's 2 or 20 years, the way the legal system does this. This is going to end with him not having some of his freedom because he cost a life with his recklessness. But the sound of Derek Carr trying to be a friend and apply compassion and forgiveness to, like, I know none of you want to hear this mistake. You make a mistake at 156 miles an hour drinking like that. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Like, what? That's not a mistake. Don't do
reckless.
Don't do that.
Don't
but,
do it. Don't
but
get in the
Derek
car.
Carr
Right.
knows that this person he cares about now has, if not ended his life, caused great, great damage to his life.
Haven't reached out. I will always be here for him. That won't change, and I'll prove that over the course of time to him, not to anybody else. But he needs people to love him right now. He's probably feeling a certain type of way about himself right now, and he needs to be loved. And if no one else will do it, I'll do it.
Man.
Derek Carr has handled a couple terrible situations in recent weeks really well. He just seems to have a good head on his shoulders about stuff.
I mean, he's faith-based, and he is someone that we don't know a lot about at that position other than that, because he's been above average for a while now, and that's an exciting offense. But he seems like a person, because he is faith-based. I know the people who are faith-based in this country feel under attack, who applies compassion and forgiveness where he can to people he loves. That's what support sounds like. It's not easy to support Henry Ruggs today. Like, nobody wants to say anything good about that guy. But if you love him, you want to be a friend to him in
You
what
could be disappointed and support him at the same time.
But see,
right?
inside the mistake of 156 miles an hour is a human being who knows he just threw it all away.
Right.
Like, he's not unaware of that.
And now he has everyone telling him that he threw it all away. And here you have Derek
And
Carr
he might not
saying, hey,
even-
I'm here for you.
And
you know?
and people need friends in times like that, and people need love to heal in times like that. Even though many of you listening to this probably think he doesn't have any right to heal, that he's done something so despicable. May he hurt, may he burn. Ha 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 ha.
I think that's probably how a lot of people feel about this. But like, it's really easy to just be like, he made a mistake and he has to, face the consequences, and he is a terrible person, and how could he be so stupid? But it's much harder to like look at him as an actual person and show the kind of compassion that Derek Carr spoke to.
I just think what fans do, and they're wrong, by the way, is they try to imagine themselves having the opportunity that Henry Ruggs has in front of him. And they say to themselves, I would never do that. I would never jump in a car. I'd get in a limousine. I would never jump in a car and drive 156 miles per hour while I'm twice the legal limit. Now, easier said than done. You think you wouldn't do it, but you have no idea. And so that's where I think it comes from. It's like squandered opportunities. I wish I had the opportunity you had, Henry Ruggs, and you just blew it.
But there's also a feeling as well that any conversation about Henry Ruggs diminishes the conversation around the victim of this.
Totally.
And that victim's family, who is
You're
going through an unspeakable tragedy, right? So I think people lose the willingness to forgive when you've killed someone, that person and their dog, that person's family lost a loved one, and it's incredibly hard to prioritize anything else.
I don't think Derek Carr's even speaking to forgiveness. He doesn't use the word forgiveness in that quote. I think he's just speaking to like empathy, because now, a person has been killed, but Henry Ruggs, who he knows, he's not asking us to forgive Henry Ruggs or to feel compassion. He himself is saying that he knows him and he feels that way. And I just think it's a really hard thing to do, to like, not to put all the praise on Derek Carr, but to go on a podium and say that when it's like such an unpopular thing right now. Like, it's true. Henry Ruggs probably feels terrible, and a lot of people think he should feel terrible. And it's hard to have compassion for someone who's made the biggest mistake of their life and killed another person.
But I don't know where the pain and the punishment are sufficient, Stugotz, on stuff like this. Like, obviously, all of us can feel somewhere in there, right? When you see that tragedy as someone who is a sports fan, you look at it, and I think all of us feel some form of, oh no, he just threw it all away.
Yep.
Like, even as someone else is dying, but you don't know who that person is. That person's not, that person doesn't have a name. That person hasn't lured you to this conversation. It's Henry Ruggs throwing it all away. That's the reason we're talking about this, and not any number of things that happen on the strip like that at that rate of speed.